So when that happens, whatever your version of Netflix, eating, drinking, sexing, Facebooking, like however Brooke Castillo calls this buffering, however you buffer, a lot of people feel like, well, I made a commitment to be in the quill. Now I'm buffering. So I'm clearly a bad person. Everybody else in the quill who's posting their successes is better than me. The right thing to do now is hide. But actually, no, that's what you want to post, because hiding from that doesn't make it go away. Now, by hiding, you're telling your brain that was perfect, keep hiding, we're safe. That probably worked when you were 7 and you had a creepy uncle, but you don't need to be safe from your own awareness activities anymore.
This is Page Up with Dr. Angela Lauria, helping you write a nonfiction book that gets clients, drives revenue, and builds credibility. Learn more at pageuppodcast.com.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Class 3. I am super excited because this is the class where we get to really dig in and start making an impact. It's also the class where very likely your little lizards and gremlins and am I good enoughs are all going to come up, because I'm going to ask you to do some stuff that's pretty simple. And it may feel like rocket science. So if any time during this class or during this week when you're doing the homework for the class, you feel like this is Aramaic, the hardest thing you've ever heard, absolutely impossible, just know this stuff is super easy. You've probably done it a million times. You probably have been doing it since high school. And the thought that I've been using that just helps me so much when I feel like someone's talking to Aramaic to me, because this absolutely happens to me too, like no doubt about it. When something feels really hard that I know probably isn't that hard, because I see lots of other people doing it who are just as smart as me, like I'm just as smart as they are, like it can't be that hard, is there's an easier way. I'm open to seeing an easier way. I'm open to seeing how this is easy for me. If any of this feels super hard, that's an awesome opportunity to ask a question in the quill, because it is probably something behind that that's hard. Nothing I'm teaching today is hard. Write that at the top of your paper. Nothing in this class is hard. Okay, the whole key to what we're covering in class 3, which is awareness, is consistency. And what happens is Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this beautifully in the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. What happens is I'm going to ask you to do something different. I'm going to ask you to do it consistently. You're actually going to make a commitment today or this week to doing it consistently. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a change back attack. You're going to decide this idea is terrible. You shouldn't stick to it. There's a better idea. You noticed Jane Doe is using Instagram. You should immediately switch to Instagram. You see a class that somebody else is offering on how to do branding. Maybe you just need a branding class. All those other ideas that are coming in that seem so valuable, what they really are your brain's way of keeping you safe. And just biologically, neurologically, how our brains are developed is to stick with the status quo. Because we're alive. Like we woke up this morning, didn't die last night. That means whatever happened yesterday, we should do again, because then we get to stay alive tomorrow. So your brain always wants you to stay right where you are. It's been programmed that way biologically, because otherwise you could die. Like I'm going to ask you maybe to go speak once a week. What happens if when you speak, you get shot like Martin Luther King? You could die. So just keep watching Netflix, because then we're alive. Your whole brain's job is to keep you alive. And the things that I'm suggesting today, even though they aren't hard at all, your brain is like, this is a little different. We might die. Let's just watch some Netflix. So when that happens, whatever your version of Netflix, eating, drinking, sexing, Facebooking, like however Brooke Castillo calls this buffering, however you buffer, a lot of people feel like, well, I made a commitment to be in the quill. Now I'm buffering. So I'm clearly a bad person. Everybody else in the quill who's posting their successes is better than me. The right thing to do now is hide. But actually, no, that's what you want to post, because hiding from that doesn't make it go away. Now, by hiding, you're telling your brain that was perfect, keep hiding, we're safe. That probably worked when you were 7 and you had a creepy uncle, but you don't need to be safe from your own awareness activities anymore. So by sharing it, 90% of the work is done. When you actually put it out there and say, oh, I noticed I'm buffering. That's like the biggest part of the battle. When you're hiding from it, we can't fix it. So what I like to do when I buffer is ask myself, what's the payoff here? Like, I know I'm getting something out of Netflix binge watching. I know I'm getting something out of eating sugar and flour. Like, I know I'm getting something. So I just get curious. Like, I'm just like, oh, this is interesting, but my brain thinks I'm trying to kill it. I should figure out why. And if you can find a way to change that beating yourself up thing to being curious, that's where the magic happens. So for this week, what your goal is going to be is setting the next 90 days of your awareness activity. And you want some shit to go down. We're not setting the 90 days and saying, I hope I pick the right thing and it's perfect and there are no problems. We're setting the 90 days and saying, I hope some shit comes up so I can figure out what's holding me back and break those patterns. Totally different way of looking at it. That's why you need to stick with one thing. Now, there are some exceptions, but I'll get to them later. In class 1, you set your big goal, your Canada goal, your 1-year goal, and your 90-day goal. And then we looked at what's your monthly revenue number for this month. You've got that set. We know what your quarterly goal is. We know how many leads you need to get. And we know how many sales you need to convert for the next 90 days. One of the things that people tell me is holding them up is that they don't know what to say. They don't have their copy ready. So in class 2, you went ahead and wrote some base copy. You could think of it as a messaging handbook that you have that you're ready to use. This is all the copy you need to get started. Now what we need to do is we need to take that copy and we need to take those goals and start to put them into action. So what we'll do this week is we will pick 1 to 3 ways that people can hear about you. They may be people you know that we're reigniting or other people's audiences that you're getting in front of for the first time. And as you'll remember from the author's way, we want to pick no more than 3 awareness methods, 1 to 3, and 1 is really the goal. But what I want to start to do with you guys is for you to start with almost like the book basket. Start with your list of all the possible awareness activities that you could do. Remember, awareness is just how people hear about you. So what you're going to do is going to fall into a few buckets. And whichever one you pick, the one that's going to be most effective is what you're already good at. So if you love speaking, you should speak. If you love writing, you should write. If you like being interviewed, you should be interviewed. There's not a right or wrong way. I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to bring this up on the screen right now, a list that I put together with some help from a bunch of coaches. Now, I should say with this list that this is primarily a phase 1. So this is unpaid, direct outreach, mostly phase 1 activities. I will talk a little later in the class about advertising, but really if you're ready to spend money on advertising, you're probably in phase 2. So you may still want to do this as an exercise, especially if you're pivoting or changing niches or something like that. Okay, this list, and you've got this in the supplemental materials in your student center. This list falls into a few buckets, I think 10 different buckets of things that you could do. Now, you already have many lists like this, and we already did it at the live event. So if you already know your awareness methods, you don't have to, excuse me, you don't have to go through this brainstorming. But I really just want you to pick once and for all what you're going to focus on for the next 90 days. not to get it right again, but to figure out what comes up when you do it. So I'm going to share with you these buckets. And you also have if you still have your binder from the Author's Way, you'll have a big list of combined awareness. You'll have phase 1 and phase 2 awareness. This is all phase 1 stuff, and it's broken up in a slightly different way. And these are actual quotes from coaches about how they get their clients. So this is real. It's all the same stuff on the list that I sent, but the list that I sent were in different words. So I'm just trying to give you the same content in different ways so it sinks in your head. So the first thing is live events. This was my first awareness activity. I attended an event. It was called Martha Beck's Dream Writers Workshop. And I knew everybody at this event. There were 24 people, including me, and then 3 organizers. But I knew they all wanted to write books. The 24 attendees all wanted to write books because that's what the event was. So that was pretty much my ideal reader. So what events is your ideal reader attending? I've also gotten clients from walking around at trade shows. You could also have a booth, but you have to pay for that. But you can walk around, especially if you're selling to the vendors of a trade show. So let's say, and I actually think somebody on this call today does this. Let's say you were working with healing professionals and helping light workers to define their branding. There is probably a trade show happening. I know I went to them with my mom growing up all the time. There's probably like an expo, like a new age expo, where you can walk around and get a reading or buy a crystal. You could go to that event, walk around to the tables, and meet the people who are exhibiting, because the people who are exhibiting are all your ideal reader. So is your ideal reader at trade shows? You can attend a conference or host a conference. So one of our, this would work especially if you had a list, or maybe you were in the corporate world and you were selling now to professionals. Let's say you're selling to professionals about changing their job. You can host your own conference in a hotel room, inviting your past like coworkers, people that you knew from your corporate days. You can attend a conference. You can, this person leading a large meetup group, they were leading one. You could also attend meetup groups. So what are the live events that you could either attend or host to meet people? Speaking. These are, again, very specific ones that people posted. Speaking at every women's group in the area for free. Speaking to parenting groups. Speaking to business groups. In-person communities I already engage in and serve. That might be the PTA for you. In-person presentations at the Chamber of Commerce. Every single one of these that you see up here are ways that coaches got clients. People like you, experts like you, got clients through these methods. So they're real. You can just pick them. If you're going to pick, you want to pick at this high level, like live events or speaking, not just like going to the gas station. We're not going to just go to the gas station for 90 days. All right, here's the next one, networking. So, and this was an actual quote from a coach. Don't go in trying to sell people, build relationships. BNI or other paid networking groups. In DC, we have something called Her Corner. I've heard of Fempreneur. There are lots of networking groups. They're usually paid, but they're like $60 or $10 a meeting or $150 a year. Spending money like that is different than spending scalable money on advertising, like thousands of dollars. So I have no problem with something like that. There's also down here at letter K is co-working spaces. I have a lot of clients who are getting their business from co-working spaces. You're of course going to pay for the co-working space, which hopefully you use. But when you pay for a co-working space, a lot of times they let you make presentations to the other people at that co-working space. So are your people there? Volunteering. Maybe I have a client who serves nonprofit like executive directors. You could volunteer for a nonprofit, and if their staff is your ideal reader, you will get to know their staff and you can share what you do. Church is a huge one for a lot of people. And then some of these, the gas station, the grocery store, the parking lot, coffee shops, on vacation, auto mechanic shop, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, ski slopes, yoga shalas, I don't even know that word, Vipassana retreats, surfing. So I've never gotten a client surfing, I can assure you, because I've never been surfing, but I can tell you my experience with networking is how I built my ghostwriting and editing business. I always got clients when I went on vacation, usually on public transportation. So I got a job writing for W Magazine and doing a book for W Magazine on the tube. I got a job doing a book for Clark Shoes when I was in Glastonbury at the Glastonbury Music Festival, and they happened to be nearby, and it was just a guy at a music festival. I did a walk around the base of Uluru, which used to be known as Ayers Rock, and white people used to climb it and offend the native Aboriginals. So I did an Aboriginal walk around the base of Uluru, and the guy who was in my walking group, there were like 6 of us in the walking group. One guy was from Philadelphia. I did a book with him on the mafia. He was actually in a witness protection program. Totally crazy. So if you actually talk to humans and share what you do consistently, I don't mean like once or twice in 90 days, but I mean actually set a goal and say 5 times today, I'm going to tell people exactly what I do, you will get clients. If you are hoping they are going to ask you, it is less likely. Okay, social media, I have a few here. There could probably be 100. LinkedIn groups. So one of our Quill members has gotten all of her clients by participating in LinkedIn groups. Instagram commenting. I have another former Plume member. Some of you know Steph Gold. Go look at Steph Gold's Instagram page. She has probably a $400,000 or $500,000 business now built purely on Instagram. I have no idea what that shit is. I cross some sort of age limit. I don't understand. I cannot even post a thing. Don't look at my Instagram page. It's a disaster. And mostly Jesse has posted the pictures because I freeze. My lizard brain thinks Instagram will kill me apparently because I cannot fucking get it. I can't get it. Anyway, networking Facebook groups. So I got a lot of my first clients from 2 Facebook groups, the Martha Beck Facebook group and another one that doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Magical Business Academy. I know a lot of people who have gotten, so my friend Jenny Shee and my friend Kendrick Shope both built their businesses just by networking in the B School Facebook group. I don't know if that works as well, but it definitely worked really well at the beginning. Now what I see people doing is daily Facebook Lives, but the trick there is make sure you are either regularly adding Facebook friends, because when you add a new Facebook friend, you're going to come up in their algorithm. So go out there and recruit people to be friends with, go into Facebook groups, find people to friend that you're having conversations with, and then do your lives. So you have to be regularly adding people, or do interviews. And as part of your interview, ask the person you're interviewing to share it to their page so that new people are seeing these Facebook Lives. And for 90 days, I would think about this as daily or pretty damn close. Referrals, great example here. Tammy Stackelhouse built a 6-figure business just on referrals. Those referrals come, in her case, mostly from doctors that are local. So local practitioners, therapists, naturopaths, doctors, local business owners, yoga teachers, friends, family, past clients, former coworkers. Who can get you referrals? I don't have on here lawyers. I should definitely have that. Add it. Who can get you referrals? All of these are real things. Somebody is making money by getting referrals from these people. I just cut and pasted from another thread of coaches from another site of where they've gotten clients and where they've gotten referrals. You can do this too. Books. If you're going to do books, and in class 4, we're going to talk about using your free book as a lead magnet. So we'll get into this more. But book sales, so that would mean really promoting, and you could actually go onto Amazon and do ad campaigns promoting your reader magnet that's inside your book and pushing really hard for book sales. Drop your price to 99 cents, do an ad campaign on Amazon. You're going to spend a little bit of money, but probably not that much. Make sure in your book, your reader magnet is front and center. Another way is to send your books. In this case, sending my book to CEOs trying to grow their business. One of my authors, Mark Silverman, has a book called Only Tens. It focuses on executives with ADHD. Total coincidence, Mark happens to be in the DC area, so we had a coffee the other day. I actually had tea and he had coffee. But we had coffee the other day, and he had gotten a copy of Washington Business Journal's top 100 companies in the DC area. And then he had made up packets, and if you go to his Facebook page, you can see them. And go to the photos and you'll see it. He made up yellow envelopes with 2 copies of his book and a letter that he was sending to all of the top 100 places to work in DC. And what he told me is everybody, we happen to live near each other. He lives in Vienna and I live in McLean. They're like one town away. So he said everybody who's in Reston, Tysons, McLean, Vienna, kind of the 5-mile radius around his house, he's going to deliver those in person. You could also FedEx them. But it's not like you're going to send one CEO your book or whoever your ideal reader is and turn that into a lead. His plan was 130 days. If you're doing 90 days, it's probably more like 300. Media coverage. Could you get a media article every single day? I listed Harrow here, which is help a reporter out, but there are other sites like this. There are other sites like this. Can you contact your local paper, local press? Somebody who I see is on this call has found like an ethnic press where her people are, and she's got 15 of them. Could you actually be in one of their publications every single day? That's what you want to know. The next one is SEO, search engine optimization. I'll spell that out. And the deal with search engine optimization is it is the dream. It is my dream. It's I will have no problems when this works for me. The problem is it's actually really, really hard. So I wanted to share this example with you because it's so beautiful. This woman says virtually, and we can figure out who it is because we could just go to her site. Virtually everyone I've ever coached has found me through Google. They just do a search for parenting coach. And I think because of my URL, the parenting coach, they find me. She said, I got that domain. I asked her when she got it, 2002, which is like almost 20 years ago. It was a long time. She says, there's been many times I've been number one, which astounds me because it just seems to happen. She bought the right URL at the right time and put content on it. It generally, to season a URL, takes 3 or 4 years. Now, I'll give you a hint here. My friend Sam was able to double his business by buying a URL. He bought the URL consulting.com. It was $100,000, and he's got a blog post somewhere that's like why spending $100,000 on consulting.com was the best money I've ever spent in my business. Let's say you're a parenting coach and this woman is going out of business. Buy her fucking URL. It gets a ton of traffic. I actually, when I saw her post this, thought about trying to buy her company for one of our partner authors, one of our authors that are in our Author Accelerator program, because I was like, she would probably let me buy her company for $100,000, maybe $300,000. That domain is worth gold if you knew what to do with it. So if you do not have a perfect URL or a seasoned website, you are going to need to become an SEO expert. That is possible, but you're going to have to buy some domains and do a lot of SEO training. There's tons of free SEO training out there. Her success was based on her domain being in 2002. And now that's gone. That real estate is gone. There was a land grab between 1998 and 2002 or so. There was a land grab for the good domains. She won the land grab. She just didn't even know she was in a race. Good for her. It's a mitzvah. Let's hope she's an awesome parenting coach. But how can you do SEO? Do not pick it if you don't have a strategy, because that is a tough one. By the way, if you're like her and you already have a ton of traffic coming to your site, I haven't been to her site, but I bet there's like 5 things I could do that would triple her revenue in like 30 seconds. So if you have a great URL and you're getting a ton of traffic, how are you going to leverage it? Gig boards. I have a client who gets all of her business from Thumbtack. Crazy. No idea how she does it, but especially if you do something that is closer to consulting, Craigslist, Upwork, Thumbtack, any of those gig boards, they are a really good place to start. And I'm going to put a couple more under. I realized I stopped writing. I must have gotten tired. What do I call these? Customer. I have a word for it, but I can't remember it right now. So collaborations, an example here is, can you offer a free event as a way for another business to say thank you to their loyal customers? So for instance, could you call all the spas within 20 miles of your house and offer to do a free workshop to any of their clients who have visited the spa that are on their list? You could then do those thank you days. If you had one of those thank you days a week, that would lead to clients and people being aware of you, other people's audience, the spa owners. Another example is customer appreciation. That's the word. It was gone from my head. Can you run customer appreciation nights, let's say for a financial planner's office or a doctor's office? Or what one of my clients, Ali Cudby, did was she went to boutiques. They generally closed at like 7 p.m. and she would offer to do a wine and cheese night for their most loyal customers. And she would then, at the customer appreciation nights, do a reading from her book, give her book away, share some secrets, and end up getting some clients from that. So are there collaborations like that? Maybe there's a coach. Oh, I just did an introduction about 10 minutes ago. My friend from high school, my friend from middle school, one of my first best friends, she had a beach house. She was the best friend. I got to spend summers at her beach house in Old Saybrook. She lives in Westchester, New York, and she has a yoga studio. And her name is Karen. She was Karen McLaughlin growing up, but she's Karen Young, so she has Karen Young Yoga. I know that one of our Quill members is a nutritionist and lives relatively close. She lives in like Greenwich or Fairfield in the south of Connecticut. Karen lives near the Connecticut border, and she doesn't do nutrition, even though she's super into nutrition. She does yoga. Erin doesn't really do yoga, doesn't really teach yoga. She teaches nutrition, although she's great at yoga. I know that energetically they're going to love each other. Can Erin do a nutrition workshop for Karen's yoga studio and have Karen do a yoga workshop for Erin's nutrition clients? Like, are there collaborations maybe right here in the Quill where you're not selling the same thing as someone, but you're selling them to the same clients? When I look at Erin's business and I look at Karen's business, they have the exact same ideal reader. Exactly the same. Karen doesn't even have a book and she has an ideal reader. Look at that. So are there collaborations that you can be doing in the Quill or with other colleagues, people you know from other trainings that you've done? Can you do trades? Can you do partnerships where you're presenting to their group, they're presenting to your group, you're presenting to their group, or you're doing emails to each other's groups and it's not competitive? Most people who have a nutritionist also exercise. Most people who exercise pay for it. Many people who go to a yoga studio regularly would have a nutritionist. It's usually not the same person. So this is not competitive. It's complementary and they can promote each other. So these are 10 free awareness categories. I want you to pick one of these to become the world's expert on. And what I recommend is actually by starting your assignment for this week with something like the book basket, where you just list everything. Nothing's off the table. You can do any of these things. You can go through the other list. This is not comprehensive. There are millions of options. Go through everything that you could possibly do and then see what category your favorite things are in and pick that one category that you are going to absolutely master. So that's step one. Identify one awareness activity at a high level that you are going to focus on for 90 days, becoming the world's best expert. Now, let's say, I didn't even put article writing in there. That's another one, article writing. I'm going to add that. Hold on, making a note. So let's say that you have picked, writing articles, and somebody from the Quill asks you to do a Facebook Live with them. Should you do it? Absolutely. It just doesn't count towards your marketing hours for the week. It's an extra thing. So if you have to decide what to say no to, it would be that. But I hope you have enough time in your schedule to do extra stuff. If somebody asks you to speak at the Women's League and you know that's not really your focus, but it sure would be fun to speak at the Women's League, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying your goal for the next 90 days isn't to become the world's expert at that. Those you will find as you become laser focused on one awareness activity, other opportunities are going to come in. And that's great. We want those things. Ultimately, we want all of your marketing to be people asking you to do things. So that's awesome. We're actually creating that with your energetic focus on one thing. Step number 2. Once your list is complete, and you've got this big list of everything you can do, I want you to go back and look at how many hours you're spending on marketing. You will most certainly find that in the business model that we did at The Author's Way. If you don't have that number and you're totally clueless, I would pick 15 hours. Don't spend time trying to reconstruct this. It's going to be somewhere between 10 and 20 hours. 15 is a perfectly fine number. If you know you're super busy or you have a full-time job, pick 10. If you know you really want to go into hyperdrive, pick 20. But you're going to have to spend somewhere between 10 and 20 hours a week on your awareness. Don't be surprised if you're not getting clients if you're not doing that. There's not some magical world unless you happen to win the URL lottery like our parenting coach lady did. So as you look through the list of things you can do and you can sort of see the buckets that are showing up for you, can you do that in the hours that you have set aside? So for instance, if we're going to be looking at writing an article every week and it takes you 20 hours to write an article and you have to get it placed, that's not a good choice for you. So can you whittle down your list based on how much time you have? Step 3, once you have your list, you have your numbers, you've done some analysis of that list, is to decide on which activities are going to get you your most bang for your buck, and buck here is going to be time. For the time you have, what is most likely to get you the most leads? So that is the question you want to look at. Gas station was one of the networking things, right? So if one of your things is going to be talking to people at gas stations and grocery stores and yoga schools, in the time you have, is that going to help you reach your goal? Is that going to be an efficient use of your time? If you're in BNI and you've been in BNI for 10 years and you know exactly how to use it, maybe the answer is yes. If you've already gotten a lot of clients from your yoga studio, maybe the answer is yes, and you can add a collaboration. But if you've never done that, you're not good at it, you can assume that's going to take at least 3 hours to get a lead by networking that way. You got to sign up for a yoga class, go to the yoga class, drive to the yoga class, go home. There's 20 people there. How many people can you talk to before and after? 4. Will one of them become a lead? Maybe, but we've just spent 4 hours to get one lead. So timing-wise, that might not be the most efficient use. All right, once you've got your best guess at what one awareness activity bucket you're going to be focused on, I want you to put your items under the buckets like I had, yoga studio, gas station, and I want you to think about what is your purpose statement. Remember with your chapters, each chapter in your book had a purpose. So you want to write something like a purpose statement, and here's how you're going to write it. The purpose is going to be to get X number of leads. So in the next 90 days, how many leads are you going to get from yoga class? I know what you want to tell me is I won't know till after I do it, but you're actually going to decide in advance because that's going to help you determine how you spend your time. So if you're getting 10 leads from yoga class, you're going to be going to a lot of yoga classes. You're going to go to 3 yoga classes in week 1. You're going to see how many leads you got. Let's say you get 3 leads. You know you need to get 10 leads. That will tell you exactly how many yoga classes you need to go to. 10, and keep doing that. So your job at the beginning, the first 30 days, is to just figure out what your numbers actually are. It's not like you wait till the end of 90 days, don't go to any yoga classes and say, well, that yoga class thing sure didn't work, right? You've got to actually do something and measure what's working, and then you can readjust it. So for each activity, your goal is how many leads your purpose statement is how many leads will you get from this source? If you say, I'm doing referrals, you're going to know already how many leads you need because we did this in class 1. So you already know how many leads you need for the next 90 days. So you're going to look at that goal, and let's say that goal is 60 leads that you need. You're doing referrals. How many are you going to get from friends? You decide that in advance. 6. How many are you getting from yoga classes? 10. How many are you getting from the gas station? We'll give that 1. And then you're going to go out there and do it. You're going to see what you're doing, and you're going to do it. And if it says you're going to get a lead from gas stations, you're going to be talking to people. Your brain will just naturally do this, right? I have 90 days to get 1 lead from a gas station. I'm going to talk to the person who's pumping gas next to me, right? If that was the one that you decided. So under whatever bucket you pick, if it's customer appreciation nights, great, let's break that down to financial advisors, doctors, boutiques. And I need 60 leads, so I'm going to get 20 from doctors' offices, 20 from financial planners, and 20 from boutiques. Now we got to start calling boutiques to get those booked. We know exactly what our activity is. So your job for this week is a purpose. Pick your bucket, pick what goes under that bucket, and then you are going to set your specific goals from how many leads from each source. And you're also going to set your specific number of hours. So you're going to spend 15 hours and break that down. If it's customer service nights and we have 3 buckets, you're spending 15 hours a week. How are you spending the hours? You want to decide all this in advance, or what happens is 90 days just disappears into thin air. Who knows where the fuck it goes? It is eaten by the black hole goblins of space and time. So decide this week what you're spending time on, how many leads you're getting from where. Do not expect it to work. Expect it to fail and get very excited and curious about it failing. There is about a 20% chance that it's going to fail because of tactical reasons. Ask those in the quill. We're going to get them solved in 2 seconds. There's an 80% chance it's going to fail because of your energy. I will help you identify that, but I can't do your own internal energetic work, but I can point you towards, here's the block. How are we going to fix it? Right? And then you'll know exactly what that is. This is the information we need. If we don't have the information, we can't fix it. If we don't know what the problem is, we can't fix it. So the purpose statement should help clarify what goes on and off your list. Now it's starting to make sense, right? Why you can only do like 1 to 3 things very efficiently, because there's only so much time and we got to get good at it. And there's only 90 days. So I'm going to tell you how mine works. Now, obviously I'm not in phase 1, but I have 24 hours allocated to marketing. That's outsourced to my marketing team. But 24 hours a week is spent on awareness. And I do 2 things. I do Facebook ads and YouTube ads. And my purpose for each of these 2 things is to get a certain number of applications, which we call leads, at a certain price. So for instance, what we are looking for Facebook is we want 100 leads a month at $350 an application. So I know the money, the time, and these 24 hours are merged because we run these campaigns sort of together, but we're going to spend 24 hours for 100 Facebook leads at $350 and 100 YouTube leads at $350. And here I'm calling a lead an application. For you, we might be calling that something different. So I'll say application. So 100 applications for $350 each, and 100 from Facebook, and the same thing from YouTube. That's our goal. So then I can measure if it's working. Should we spend more money? Should we spend less money? Should we change the ads? We want to have a similar metric for you. Instead of money, it's mostly going to be hours. How many leads are you getting in a month from your yoga studio? How much time does that take you? Can you hit your numbers that way? We have to identify if you can hit your numbers. Now, you may be having that she's speaking Aramaic feeling. I promise you none of this is hard. If you go back to that list, that big list that I shared of people for awareness, it is as simple as this. I'm going to make a list of 100 women's associations within 50 miles of me. I'm going to call them all, and my goal is to get one speaking engagement a week. I'm going to do one speaking engagement a week for the next 30 days, and I'm going to see how many leads I get from those 4 speaking engagements. If I need 20 leads a month and I only got 5 and it took up all of my hours, I have to fix something. Do I change where I'm speaking? Do I change what I'm saying? We won't know that till you've done it. Once you've done it, you can come at and ask me great questions. So I can say, oh, I think you gave too much information away. Here's how you can get more lead magnets in people's hands. Maybe you want to ask them to download your book while they're right at the event. But this is exactly how I do it. If you have another way of doing awareness that's getting you all the leads you want, no need to do this step. If you have your leads checked off, great. For most people in the quill, I find the breaking point is awareness. If they get the awareness right, everything else follows. Even if they're closing 1 in 10 and not 1 in 4, doesn't matter because they have enough leads. Most people are not spending enough time on awareness. They're not doing things they love, so it's not naturally in their zone of genius. And most importantly, when they fail, when they take the tiniest action, like put a Facebook post up, and they fail, they think of that as bad failure when that's the good failure. That's the massive action failure that we want lots of. 90% of the awareness stuff I do does not work. Okay? So you don't want this to work. You want to be curious about why it doesn't. You can only find the 10% of stuff or 20% of stuff that's going to work by doing a whole bunch of shit really actively. That's not throw one Facebook post up and hope it turns into money. You'll remember my favorite South Park video where they say, step 1, collect underpants. Step 3, profit. Step 2. This is step 2. This is the part that matters. So you can have the best product in the world, but if we don't have a way to get people to find out about it and to raise their hands and say that they want to know more about that product, we can't end up at the profit. Phase 2 is the important phase. It seems like the underpants and the collect money are the important phase. This is the important part. We have to get this right. So I am going to wrap up the class here. What you'll want to do is look at the supplemental materials in Kajabi. You may want to watch this again, read through the notes, pick your awareness techniques, go back through your awareness notes from the author's way, because you've already gotten your awareness plan. You did it at the castle, and the one that you did was probably good. I'm 99% sure the reason your awareness plan is failing is that you're not doing it. That is the number one reason for failure. And that's the bad failure. Thinking about it is passive action that does not lead to failure we can use. The good failure, the one you want, is to do stuff that may or may not work, but it all works because it either works and gets us leads, or it works and gets us the information we need to know to improve it. None of this is going to be hard once you have it rolling. Like you hear me talk about Facebook ads and YouTube ads, and you're like, oh, that sounds so nice. I just want to buy ads. I didn't start by buying ads. I started by talking to people in 2 Facebook groups and from one event. So I didn't start that way, but it was predictable because I was doing it regularly. Regularly means daily, at least 15 hours a week. All right, you guys, I am so excited to see what you do. Remember, keep a folder with all of this information in one place. And as you go out and do it, make sure you share it with me. In the next 7 days, you must have locked down what awareness activities you're doing, what your purpose statement is for each, how many hours you're spending on each, and you must have it on your calendar, what your actual awareness activities will be. You have 7 days to lock it down. And that's it for the remainder of the 90 days. You're going to do it every single week with the hours that you committed to. Then we can analyze what's working and what isn't working. Super excited to see which awareness techniques that you pick. And if you have some early wins, awesome. But if not, don't worry. I am here for you. And I can't wait to hear how we can tweak and adjust and optimize things so they work better for you. Thanks, everybody.